Water, 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 water. The Earth Star Moon Base was one of 4 functional bases created by international effort. By that time, the Moon was a very valuable resource for deep space launches, education, training, telescopes and photography, and even events like the first World Olympics competition, the so-called Green Cheese Games. The other bases were called Moon Star Base, and then Station Alpha Base, and Station X Base. Both of those were secret, or not public. By creating the facilities almost entirely underground, they were safe and worked fine for all sorts of uses. For healthy space travelers. Even private companies could launch to orbit, travel 300,000 miles of emptiness to Moon orbit, and then shuttle a descent to the Moon's surface to connect to the various bases, which were exposed to the Moon's rocky and lifeless surface, as air-sealed doorways.
Waterless the world above, and worse than waterless, the Earth's moon eternally gazes back at her brother world, the small lonely blue planet, envious, for she had no air, no life, no trees, no birds or lakes, no hamburgers or shopping malls. Much later, shopping malls and hamburgers and many natural features would embellish the moon's underground caverns and structures, extending a half-mile downward. Like a handful of moon dust spinning to shape itself a new playground for mankind to explore, yet childless and cold, as if every step forward from her shores was downward, away from hope, into the Cobalt. Not their hope, but hers, the moon, but an ugly, ancient hag or mirrored corpse of goddess Medusa, holding desperately to the only life had ever shown her, only then to be ripped from her ownership. Luna, save us, Gaia cries out. So instead we created a theme park, said the USSF General, James Anderson. He and Major Tom, from the David Bowie song, had parked their vigil at a station in orbit around the moon, monitoring the progress of the new Black Ops team captained by Corso. The fact of history: they supposed that Charles Lincoln was the grandson of an off-world alien abduction incident in 1945 was incidental to the mission at hand, which was to command a space vessel to bring fresh supplies to the Earth Star Moon Base. Not a theme park, answered the Major. A prison. An attack base, said Anderson. A gambling casino? Tom quipped. Now that's what I call progress, Anderson joked. For Charles Lincoln, his birth history also meant very little. Far worse was the humiliation of the failed launch, due to what amounted to a mechanical warning light showing a possible stress leak on a cargo hold gate seal. And it was only a possibility, not a fact. But the advanced computers made the cargo ship, the Uranie-2, almost a living, thinking, alive thing all its own. Just before launch the ship told them she had an itty-bitty tummy ache, in cargo hold 4. The Uranie-2 would haul tons of supplies to the moon base system. Several ships per month made the Luna run. The cargo containers were hoisted weightlessly into the ship's expansive holding areas, from orbital docks where they waited even many months for the ships and pilots to catch up. Thank God, Charles told his co-pilot, Lieutenant Oyeka, Navigator Extraordinary. We have a green light window out of orbit for the next 20 hours, Oye. It just came over from Puerto Rico. See? The navigator reviewed the communication quickly. Got it, he said. We're good to go at your command, sir. Set the exit point, give me an hour to power thruster engines, mark the time, Corso said. Otherwise alert the crew and we'll depart for Luna Base. Most of this load is for the Earth Star Base, Oye answered him. Sugar, milk, fresh foods, medical supplies, electronics, new space suits and new moon suits, musical instruments, holiday decorations, and water. There's also a secret shipment with all this, isn't there? I'm switching up all long-distance signal beacons, now. There was a series of beep alerts as Corso deactivated 5 main long-distance navigation beacons they used to cross from the Earth to the Moon. Placed in elongated orbits between two planetary spheres, the silent space bees operated like an Earth-to-Moon GPS system. Got you, Oyi said. Well, Commander, if it's a secret, how would I know? Navigation beacons online. These 4 missions were in the 80s and varied between 5-15 days each, but all within a 4-month span with R&R in between at the Lunar Space Station. First mission to the Moon occurred on March 15, 1973 for 5 days. Second mission to Venus occurred on April 30, 1973 for 7 days. Third mission to Mars occurred on May 20, 1973 for 12 days. The last mission to Jupiter occurred on
May 20th, 1973 for 12 days. The last mission to Jupiter occurred on June 10th, 1973 for 15 days. But that was then. The ship's systems buzzed and hummed. Charles Lincoln was setting up the long-distance engines that would move the ship in an elegant arc toward the Moon from Earth's orbit. The action resembled a miniature golf course hole-in-one, and a skilled pilot had little trouble with the maneuvers in between. Charles was quite skilled. But something else was bothering him. How much water on the cargo list, Navigator? Do we have that? Let me see that data pad. I want more on the secret cargo. The co-pilot was calculating the Earth orbit exit, based on their current position and speed. The Uranie 2 was moving at a relative speed of 17,000 miles per hour, high above the blue-green marble we call home. To exit Earth orbit successfully, the exit point was adjusted so that the voyage to the Moon would end successfully where the Moon would be in 3 days. The calculations were automatic, but the co-pilot always checked, because they were critical. He passed a data tablet towards Corso. Charles looked it over quickly. For his own information, the engine power-up would continue for a while until the exit point was reached. Elsewhere on board the space transport, the other crew were correcting their own calculations and reports. Cargo bays are cargo secure, Commander, came the report on the sound system they all shared. Thanks, Ron. Hey, Ron? Yes, sir? Who is Linavilla contained? Is that how you pronounce it? Linavilla? Let me look. Is she a property? Wait. Here it is. Cargo hold 6. Classified. She's at her star base. She works for Black Ops, under Anderson and Cynthia May, the Special Services woman. The African woman, a pilot, too. She was at the Shasta meeting. You met her, Charlie, don't you remember? Now the sounds of the ship's engine cycle were shaking the entire vessel, which was some 1,000 feet long, and shaped like a potato. It was less like a noise or sound than a certain type of deep vibration, that had the effect of seeming to turn them all to jelly or human spaceman gelatin. All thruster engines ready in 5, Navigator. Got you, Charlie? Exit point set at 10. Can we do that? If nothing else happens, yeah. 10 minutes, we're full power out of orbit. That's confirmed, then. Mark the time, please. Cargo. Life sustain, all crew. Please confirm ready in 10? Each of the ship's various stations replied as they were, via the comlink they all used throughout the ship. The Staff Sergeant Ron Davidson was also on the line. Linavilla was the property holder on the secret cargo in Bay 6. He was also curious but figured it for classified and ignored it as usual. Then Charles answered him again, on the same topic. Once again to count down. The big ship hummed. Not Cynthia May, Corso said. Linervilla. Who is she? You said special services under May's command? I just want to know what's in those cargo containers, Sergeant. And I want to know ASAP. It's classified, Corso. What do you want? An X-ray? Yes, Davidson, I do. And magnetic resonance imaging too. Now the ship's pilot tower viewer windows started to open, from the dense material plates that covered their view forward until the ship would begin to move, only a few minutes ahead. View windows at Sept, Theaka said. Passing your midpoint. Down at 5, gentlemen.
Later the ship is floated down to standard lunar orbit, with her cargo containers, crew, and descent shuttle service, bearing gifts like a bird of paradise. Corso would serve 10 weeks at the base they called Earth Star. But now he had a different purpose. One he shared only with the mysteriously unwelcome Val Valder. Everyone feared the Raelians. The idea that he or his beloved mother shared DNA with the Raelian species was detestable to him. Yet the Raelians were very powerful and ancient and could cross the distances between stars. In a sense, Val was like a super being, except that he was ugly and even an agent of evil. Additionally, there was no proof at all that Valder was a Raelian. And while Commander Corso knew, the value of the mission was not only to the personnel on the moon base itself, but to the Urani 2 flight crew. Skilled pilots, men and women who trusted him with their lives. Since this is the first mission with all hands on deck, the Jack Giant killer crew can learn each other's personalities, and the timing and decision making. These qualities are important for each crew member to understand communications both spoken and as body language. After the first mission out, the crew was a more tight-knit and well-oiled machine, reducing the risk of failure in case of any unforeseen emergencies. General Anderson also waited patiently for word of the Urani 2 moon base arrival. The space station in orbit around the moon was almost as large as the 5 bases at various points below on the barren moon, which some called Big Rock. But by then he knew Corso and his cargo had both arrived safely. The space station was not as nice as the moon base environments, mostly because they had no gravity. But also because the station was completely sealed and air environment neutral. For he and Major Tom, it was an exercise in travel skills they thought they may need later. Anderson often had difficulty cracking a smile, but often would try. He looked at the pilot Tom, glaring straight in his eyes, and said, "This first mission with no incidents, and oh, one more thing, don't anybody get hurt out there." Major Luong acknowledges him curtly. "Of course, sir. But I still do not understand the real reason behind Val Valiant Thor's part in these missions." Anderson was gazing at some computer parts, distracted by design. "This is secret information, but my advice to you is did not think or say or learn anything about this strange Thor person. He is our informant at the highest level. But he is not what he seems. Do you understand how that works? Here at the moon? If your Raelian visitors are here, too, then their next stop may be another galaxy. Which is impossible, but also involves us, and people under my command. Such as Charlie Corso, sir? Well, yes, damn it. Charlie is as human as you or me. Just because his mother was at that atomic bomb, those are personal details. No one is permitted to choose for him. And also Lynn Contaden. Linervilla, the property holder on the Urani 2 Cargo 6 container. Half a ton, sir. Only she knows what it contains. Don't tell me. Let me guess, Anderson replied. Horse semen? Tom paused. Say again, please, Commander, sir? Horse semen? Half a ton of horse semen, Anderson said again. That is a good guess, then, sir. Horse sperm? Sperm from horses? Horse DNA? Well, I'd have to say that is very well informed guesswork on your part then. But not the entire half ton. There are also apparently sealed medical containers of, well, let me look it up here on the ship's manifest data pad. Hold please. Sub-zero liquid nitrogen. Yes, that's right. I thought this was all classified to World Police, sir. It is, Tom. But please understand, the Raelians did not only abduct human beings, like Bill and Betty Hill in 1965. They also abduct cattle, farm animals, farm pigs and cows. And horses. Well, I guess they just wanted the sperm. But if those containers are on their way to another galaxy, Major Tom, well, all I can say is I sure as hell hope you or I are not the next on their menu. Valvalder is not much of a friend. What about Linavilla Kincaid? How is she involved? And what about Corso? Commander, Corso is essentially the Raelian's grandson. He may betray us, he may betray us. He may betray us, he may betray us.
Charles Lincoln found the time to find the time, there at the Earth's star moon base. He was very glad to be there. The moon base was stable, well-equipped, comfortable, and occupied by all sorts of wonderful people. Among them was Lynn Kincaid, or Linavilla, the property holder on the container Corso and his crew brought from Earth, apparently an agricultural livestock product, frozen in sterile tubes or glass casings, such as a horse breeder would use for artificial insemination of race horses. His curiosity brought them together a few days later. The mood was hopeful and fearful at once. Program Specialist Avila was blonde-haired, pale with freckles, his age but younger by 4 years, busty with a thin waist, and strong, shapely legs. Yet within a year, Charles Lincoln would take Linavilla Kincaid to be his married wife. Water, 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 water.